from now on, which is totally fine. Probably better quality is my guess, but we will work on that. So, hi. We're not gonna use any of that. And I need to move this out of the way. I move this closer. Hi there, it's me, Benjamin Krudwig from Benjamin Krudwig Fiber Arts and Design, and I am here with my very first episode of my new podcast. So it's a new year, and I thought I would like to try something new this year, and so I thought a podcast would be a great idea. So I've been watching Come Knit With Us with Kimmy and Sam, which, let's see, it's Kermit Von Frog and Kimmy Knits, or Kimmy Ka Knits as she says, on Instagram and Ravelry and all of their things. So I've been watching them, I've been watching the Sort of a Knitter podcast with Josh, and I've been watching the Bakery Bears podcast. These are all lovely people that I'm talking about. So I decided that I would start my own podcast because, like them, I think I have a unique point of view that I really want to share with the world. So I have filmed things before. I do crochet tutorials on this channel, so I've been doing that since 2010, or 2009, I can't remember which. So I've been doing that, and I just finished filming a course over on Curious.com on how to crochet a top-down raglan style sweater. So that is on there, or it will be on there soon as a course. Sorry, my cat is having a great time. This is Beans, or Bernadette. She is our one-eyed kitten. My wife and I saw her at the Humane Society and we just needed her. So I am a fiber cliche right now. So I love animals and I love my cat, and she's very, very helpful when I'm knitting or crocheting. So welcome to Benjamin's Fibercast. I think that's what I'm going to call this podcast. And that's because I don't just knit. I crochet and I weave and I spin. So I do some sewing, but not a whole bunch of it. But this podcast will kind of be a mishmash of everything. So welcome. Pull up a seat, pull up some coffee or some tea. I have mine right here. And we'll get going. So when I announced last year, in 2014, that I was going to do a podcast, I asked my followers on Instagram to ask me some questions. So I have these questions right here. I'm going to try not to blast through them. So the first question comes from Kimmy Knits. Hi there. And she asks, when did you learn to knit? How did you learn? What's your favorite item to knit and why? And what was the first knitting project you ever finished? So let's start from the very beginning. I learned how to knit when I was in high school. My sister, at the time, she was a big knitter. And I went as Mark from Rent on Halloween, and I asked her, hey, could you knit me a scarf like his? And she said, oh, sure. And she started knitting, and I was fascinated by it. So I asked her, could I learn how to knit? Could you teach me? And so she gave me a pair of, I think it was like 10.5s, or maybe even, I don't know, up to like 13 or 15, US size needles. So big needles. And I asked her, to teach me. Bulky yarn, big needles, and she showed me how to do the basic knit stitch, and then taught me how to do the purl stitch, and I just worked and worked and worked on a small project, increasing on accident, decreasing on accident. I dropped plenty of stitches. So yeah, that was over a decade or so ago now. No, maybe about 10 years, maybe around that. So that's when I learned how to knit and how I learned how to knit. After then, so I never actually finished that project, I'm pretty sure. So that's one of those things that I probably could have finished, but just got bored with it or something. The first project that I finished was a really ugly hat and scarf. The scarf was in really cheap acrylic yarn, probably one of those pounds of yarn that you can get that's maybe $5-10, and it was self-striping. The way it striped though was kind of like the zigzag pattern. It almost looked like an argyle, but not good argyle. So I was also into loom knitting at the time, so after I knit the scarf, I loom knit a hat. I promptly accidentally destroyed them by dropping them into a big pile of muddy, slushy water, and accidentally leaving them there for a good month or so. So that was unfortunate, but maybe not that unfortunate. I stopped knitting very shortly after I started knitting, so I think I brought all of my knitting supplies with me to college. Mostly that was yarn. And at that point I actually taught myself how to crochet. So I had a friend who was making these little amigurumi figurines. Knitters call them stuffies. So I saw her crocheting those and I was like, I need to learn how to do that. So I got a book, I got some hooks, and I knit away. Or not knit away, oh my gosh, I crocheted away. So I worked on that for a really long time, and I was really drawn to crochet because it was very fast. It was very flexible, like I could just do whatever I felt like doing with any combination of stitches. I never really got that far with knitting. I really needed something to calm me down before my calculus exams in college, so I would crochet for about 10-15 minutes before my exam, and it really, really helped to relieve the stress. So all throughout college I didn't pick up my knitting needles again, and it really hasn't been until the last couple of years that I started knitting again. And I, at this point, actually love knitting more than I do crochet, and I think, I don't even know why, but it happened, and it makes me feel really dirty saying it because I've been teaching crochet tutorials on YouTube for years, and have been a big pusher for crochet, and I still love it. I still love it. It's, you know, it's like choosing between children. I don't really know who I love more, but you know, it's what I'm loving now, so I knit a lot right now. Let's see. So my favorite item to knit, oh man, so I think that's probably hats. And that goes the same for knit and crochet, is I just love hats. I use it kind of as a swatch. So I don't do the 5-inch square swatch for a certain stitch pattern, I just make a hat. And I don't mind ripping out, because it's not that many stitches generally, but I do love working on hats because they're so quick and so versatile. I live in Colorado, and in the winter, it's winter for a solid 3 or 4 months, and it's cold winter. It's not like, oh yeah, it's winter and it snows sometimes. It's like, well, it's gonna snow, and then the snow is going to freeze on the ground, melt, because we're gonna have a day in the 50s, and then it gets really cold in the evenings and in the morning. So hats are extremely practical here. So I'm very much into staying warm with a nice hat. So that's something that I knit quite a bit of. I'm also really into shawls. There's something about the way they drape and the way they hang and the versatility of shawls. So I know Josh from Sort of a Knitter, he's very much into shawls, and at first I thought it was a very feminine thing until I made my first shawl for myself, and I use it very much like as a kerchief, so not like not traditional shawl wearing, it's very much like a giant scarf that's shaped. I really love that about shawls, and there's so much that you can do with them, and I just love them to pieces. So those are probably my favorite things to knit, favorite things to crochet. The next question I have comes from Runs with Scissors, and she asks, are you a fast knitter? So that kind of depends on what I'm knitting. If I like it, if I'm very much into it, if it's interesting, then I'm a very fast knitter. I can finish a hat in a day, and that's using chunky yarn. If it's, worsted weight or sport weight or finer, it does take me a while just because of the sheer number of stitches, but I call myself a relatively fast knitter. If I don't like the project, it usually gets put into the basket, and I don't touch it for a while. Or if it's just a frustrating project, then I'll put it away for a while. I'm an obsessive knitter. I'm an obsessive creative person, so if I'm working on something, I generally don't stop working on it until I finish it. And that drives my wife nuts sometimes, I think, because I'll work on a project until 10:30, 11 at night, and she'll ask, when are you coming to bed? And I'll get there eventually. So I'm sure that she wishes that I didn't do that all the time. But, if I'm working on a pattern or something, I really want to see it through to the end, and I don't like stopping. It's just not in my nature to stop what I'm working on. So, yeah, I'm a fast knitter when I want to be. Her next question is, what's your favorite yarn? So that's a really, really hard question. I think in a general sense, my favorite yarn is probably natural fibers. So either plant or animal fibers. I don't like using acrylic yarns. I don't like using fake materials. And I think that's mostly just because I don't like the way they feel in my hand. I do like that they are cheap. And so if I'm working on a new pattern and I'm not confident in how it's going to turn out, I'll choose some acrylic yarn that's in a similar weight and similar springiness of the finished yarn that I'll use. So as far as that goes, I prefer wool, I prefer cotton, I really love bamboo, I love how it's so shiny, it drapes really well, so that's something that I love working with. As far as brands go, I really love Anzula Luxury Fibers. They're out of Fresno, California, and their yarns or their bases themselves are simply just wonderful. I've never had a bad base from them. On top of that, the colorways that they provide are so beautiful. Oh my gosh. I work almost primarily in Anzula yarns just because they're so wonderful, and they're a great company. They are lovely, lovely people over there. So I really, really like using their yarn. Let's see. So the next, oh my gosh, my eyes are getting old. So my best place to knit. So really, the way I see it is the best place to knit is anywhere that you're sitting down with a pair of needles and yarn. I can knit pretty much anywhere. I knit on my lunch hour at work. So it's like I'm surrounded by all of I work customer service and reception and social media at Shack Spindle Company. And I love it, but I do spend a lot of time on the phone and interacting with people, which I'm a major introvert, and so it kind of drains me. Every now and again I'll just feel really exhausted. So at lunch I'll sit in the break room all by myself with my needles and my yarn, and it just kind of recenters me for the rest of my day, and I really love it. That's one of my favorite times to knit. I think I love knitting sitting on the couch, watching one of my shows, with my wife sitting next to me, our cat sitting on my lap usually. She's usually just right in the action as far as when I'm working on a project. It's just something that is a wonderful feeling. I love being there with my little small family. It's probably one of my favorite things to do. Other places I like to knit, I actually walk and knit. So I'll walk home from work every now and again, and it gives me a solid half an hour to just work on whatever I'm working on. It's a little bit more difficult when I'm working on a big project because it's, you know, hanging, and I really have that weight of the project pulling down on the needles, pulling down on my arms. But if it's a small scarf, oh my gosh, it's just nice to put the ball of yarn in my pocket or in my briefcase, and I'll just walk around and knit. And it's wonderful. It's very meditative, very quiet. It brings me back down after a long day at work. So I think those are my favorite places to knit. And I think your last question is a very good question. Why a podcast? So I think I kind of answered it at the beginning of this video, and it's because I think I have a unique personality. I think I have a unique point of view. So I really want to share it with people. And there's something, we don't have a ton of knitting groups here where I'm located, and not a lot of people my own age. And so I feel like I've really enjoyed watching Josh's podcast because, you know, he's a little bit younger than I am, but he's so excited and enthusiastic about what he's doing, and I really love what he's doing. He's pulling out some really beautiful, amazing work. So I thought this is a way like I can connect with the people on the internet who are my own age or who are just as passionate as I am, who are in a similar place in life as I am. And it's this community building thing for me, and it's a way that I can connect with you all out there, and you can connect with me. You know, it's just, I love it. I'm sorry, I keep scratching because we decided to grow my hair out, and I love it. I love the fact that we're doing this, but it's very new. There are new feelings in my scalp and in my hair where it's just, I'm not used to having this much hair. Anyway, so I am going to continue. I don't know how long this podcast is going to be. I'm basically going to keep going until I'm out of things to talk about for this episode. So I am not going to go through all of the projects I have done last year. I'm just going to go with the last few weeks of the holiday break. So I will first talk about what's on my needles. So I just finished a shawl in this style, and I'm writing a pattern for this. But I am making a cardigan. Ugh. I just bound off, or just pulled off the sleeves. I'm doing a raglan style cardigan. So that's the front. This is the back. And I used a provisional cast on the top. And let's see. Yeah, so I did a provisional cast on the top. And I'm doing this kind of feather-like motif down at the shoulder sections where the sleeves will be pulled off, down the button bands, although there are not going to be any buttons on this, and down the back. I used a provisional cast on because I'm going to do a hood with it, so I'm really, really excited to see that work out. This will be a pattern in my store on Ravelry. But probably won't be there for a few weeks. I need to finish it first of all and really make sure that the pattern itself is sound, and then I'll send it to testers. and then they'll send it back to me, and we'll, you know, figure it all out. So that one is my current obsession. The other one that I'm working on is with some handspun. So this is some handspun yarn. It's a merino wool base. It was a brown merino wool base by Spunky Eclectic. So Amy over at Spunky Eclectic has a Fiber of the Month club that I'm a part of, and I love. I think I've gotten 4 months now, and this was month number, I think this was month number 3. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this was November. It's called Black Pearl. Let's see. You can see it's kind of that brown base, very oaky, that aged timber look. And then there's some red in there, and there's some blues and greens, and I love it. Oh my gosh, I love the way that it spun up. It's very soft. So I'm working on a pattern that I call Walk the Plank. This will be another pattern that'll be available when I finish it. So I'll bring it up here. Can't really see exactly what this is, but I'm doing a skull motif that I have backwards. Gosh. So I'm not sure how well this is showing up on camera. Not very well. It'll block out very nicely. But I'm bordering the whole scarf in moss stitch. And although that's pretty, it's time consuming, I really enjoy it. I'm really liking the texture that it gives. It's just that really bumpy feeling. It made me think of aged wood. And so I'm really trying to, what I'm going to be doing on my blog at benjaminkrudwig.com/blog is for every Fiber of the Month club that Amy does, I will be spinning the yarn and then doing a project based or inspired by the colorway. So there's one called Anemone that's a gradient dyed, and I'm thinking of doing like a ruffled cowl for that one. And then there's another one called Hungry, I think, and it was inspired by sushi. So I have an idea for that one, and I don't really want to give too much away. And then I have another one, and I can't, oh man, I can't really think of it off the top of my head. But it's based off of a sheep. I think it's called, is it Dorset? I don't remember, but it's based off of a countryside, so that one is definitely more of a loose interpretation, I think. So that's what's currently on my needles, is the scarf and the shawl. I'm kind of surprised I don't have more going on, but for a while, so I crocheted 3 sweaters in about 2 months for the course that I'm teaching on Curious.com, so that really took up a ton of my time and a ton of my focus. So those, you know, I didn't start any other projects. I just needed to focus on those projects. What's off my needles? Wow, so I have 2 things that are recent. I finished a couple of headbands for my wife, and then I decided that I needed an instant gratification project, so I designed this hat. Let's see. I'll bring it back this way. So it actually has a pearl background. So it looks like the wrong side of the fabric, but I really wanted these motifs to be at the forefront. So I'm going to call this pattern Crown of the Forest, and that's just because these motifs are like leaves and feathers, and I really wanted to create a crown-like structure, and I love this hat, and it's a little big for me, but with the more hair that I'm getting, the larger hat I need just to kind of keep it all contained and lovely. This is Cascade Yarns Cloud, and I used the yellow and the orange. I can't remember the color names right away, but it's a alpaca wool blend. Oh my god, my hair is going to drive me nuts. See, Kimmy always talks about her bangs on Come Knit With Us, and I'm starting to understand what she means, but she's trying to keep hers, you know, pretty, and I'm trying to keep mine out of my eyeballs. So this will be a pattern on Ravelry. I love it. I love this hat so much. I get a little enthusiastic. Sorry about that. The other thing that I am very, very happy with, this is a free pattern on Ravelry. This is called the Pulsar Shawl. So it's an overlapping shawl. It's 6 panels. This camera is not picking up the color very well. It's a lot more cobalt than this kind of greenish color. Oh, wow. Let's see if that'll do it. Yeah, it's definitely more of a cobalt color, but I hand spun this yarn. It's a bamboo yarn that I hand blended. So I did this gradient that you can see that goes from the light blue all the way down to this dark blue. Over on the blog at Shack Spindle, I did a tutorial on how to blend that yarn, and we will be blogging about the actual shawl later, and so that should be really exciting. But you can go to my Ravelry, Benjamin Krudwig on Ravelry, and find the Pulsar Shawl, and it is free to download, and it is such an easy pattern. It's mostly stockinette, with some increasing and some knit two togethers and some slip knits. Let's see, so there's also this motif here. So the cardigan that I'm working on is actually a modification of this pattern, and this is using yarn overs along with the slip knit and the knit two together to create that pattern. It's 13 ounces of fiber, but I didn't get a ton of yardage out of it because I did a 3-ply. I did a Navajo ply in that yarn, and it's very heavy, it's very weighty, but it feels so good around the shoulders. It can be worn so many different ways, and I love it. I love that shawl. Very rarely do I love one of my projects that much. Usually I'm just like, yeah, that was pretty good. I like it, I guess. Or I really like it. But this one I love. So I'll be redoing this pattern probably in some commercial yarn. Just, so people can recreate it a little bit more exactly. I know some people are pretty strict to themselves of, well, it was made in this yarn, so I'm gonna go get this yarn and make this shawl. So yeah, I'll be putting that out relatively soon with some commercial yarn, but it's a free pattern as of now, and I hope that you guys check it out if you really want to. You don't have to. I don't ever want you to think that you have to do anything that I say. So, oh well. So I'm slightly feeling like I'm running out of things to talk about, but I want your feedback. What do you want to know about me, or what would you like to see in my Fibercast? I will probably have more spinning projects. I will definitely have more weaving projects coming up. I put away both of my looms. So I have a Cricut loom, a Shacked Cricut loom, and I have a Baby Wolf for the looms that I use. So I guess I'll talk about my equipment right now. And then as far as spinning goes, if you follow me on Instagram or on my Facebook or my Tumblr, you have seen my Shacked Reeves. So that's my 30-inch ash, double treadle, flyer on the left, shacked reeves, and I love that wheel. Oh my gosh, it's such a smooth spinner, and I can spin very, very fine. I can spin a lot of yarn in very little time. This yarn was spun on my reeves. This is a 2-ply, by the way. Yeah, so I spun this, there it goes, on my reeves. It is such a beautiful spinner. I also have a sidekick, which was my first wheel. It's the travel wheel from Shacked, and I use it primarily to ply now, or do bulky yarn. I just kept the bulky flyer package on the wheel itself, so that is what I do on that wheel. So yeah, I do other things besides knit and crochet, and I'm sure in future Fibercasts you'll see all those projects going on. So yeah, ask me questions down in the comments below and I will answer them. So if you ask me anything in this episode, I'll answer it in the next episode. And yeah, so just, I want to thank Come Knit With Us, Sort of Knitter podcast, and the Bakery Bears podcast, and really inspiring me to do my own podcast. So thank you, you're all wonderful. I will see you in future episodes. My wife might join me in some episodes. She knows how, there goes my cat. Sorry, off the window. So I have taught her how to knit and how to weave and how to crochet, so sometimes she'll work on this with me. So yeah, thanks for watching. Keep on working with your yarn, keep on working with your fiber, and I will see you all later. Bye.